European Championship has arrived at the legendary circuit, the Barcelona-Catalunya, which remains the home of last lap battles and final corner moves. It's a pivotal weekend in the championship as Orradre enters the weekend with just a 7-point buffer over Alberto Sura. Two Moto2 races are coming up today, taking place on his technical layout, which sits in just over 4.5 kilometers in distance. With some long straights, heavy braking zones and fast corners, tyre life remains crucial if you want to stand on the top step of the podium. Fernandez starts in prime real estate as he gets set to launch from pole position. We've had long enough of a wait now, so let's go to do battle in Moto2. Well, where do we start now? Looking back at Misano, we had incredible drama in Moto2. The race got underway in the Italian sunshine with immediate drama. Orradre crashed out in the opening lap. A train reaction formed behind with Marozio, Ortigas and Watley also hitting the deck. Surprisingly, no red flag was needed, and the talking points kept on forming as Eric Fernandez and Alberto Fernandez crashed out at turn 8. Eric gave Alberto a hand to restart the 54 machine, clearly showing signs of damage when Jardo was the next follower, as Harrison Voigt rose to the occasion, looking strong as Alberto Sura led the way in the later laps. Voigt, though, made one too many errors, losing ground to Zuratuza and Pavlitz, dropping the Aussie off the podium. Sura charged the victory in Italy, beginning his Sunday celebrations early in Parc Ferme and proving that he is here to win in the Moto2 European Championship. Well, Misano provided intense drama, and now here we are in Barcelona. My name is Lewis Ray. Joining me for this weekend is Jack Amy, and well, Jack, I think it's fair to say Misano was one of the most dramatic Moto2 European Championship races we have ever seen. And well, I think today, two races coming up, it's going to be difficult to match that sort of drama, but nonetheless, a championship is still technically on the line in race 2 later on.
Yes, absolutely. The championship can be won only in race 2. We'll stress that, so we won't worry about it too much in this race. As you said, Misano, it was incredibly dramatic right from the word go. Front runners obviously crashing out at turn 8. Orradre with his big high side. Thankfully, everyone was okay after that. But yeah, an incredible weekend over in Italy.
Yeah, an incredible weekend it was, because nonetheless, it was still some great battles out on circuit. Alberto Sura, I should put the teeth back in. He just shown how strong he is able to be when he's lean at the front of the race. He's had a busy few weeks, to put it lightly. If anything, he's been non-stop since Misano. He's done, of course, Moto2 appearances this year in the World Championship. He's been racing here in the European Championship, and not to forget, he's been doing some racing action, doing very, very well actually in the World Supersport class.
He's, I think, potentially had one weekend off since September. He's been jumping on everything and doing very well. I'd say incredible performances in World Supersport, considering he's been a replacement rider, fighting for the podium, fighting for victories almost every race. And actually those performances have seen him linked with a World Superbike seat, which, considering he's only done a few rounds in World Supersport, is very, very impressive.
Yeah, the rumours keep on brewing, and well, that's the fun towards the end of the season. You have to show yourself for a good ride, but nonetheless, we see now our pole setter, this being Eric Fernandez. He goes from pole after a cracking lap yesterday and looks to be trying to steal victory here today. So let's look back to what happened yesterday.
I'm very happy because we have been struggling thanks to my team.
Well, he's a man of few words, but nonetheless, he's done his talking out on circuit this weekend, that's for sure. Eric Fernandez now lines up in pole position, and he's looking confident going into this one. I think it's fair to say. The number 4 yet to take a win so far this season. Of course, second pole of the year. He has stood in the podium previously, but nonetheless, yet to stand on the top step.
First time he'll start from pole position, though. It's worth clarifying that. He was fastest in qualifying at Misano, but had a 6-place grid penalty, which dropped him down to P7. Backing up his speed from Misano here in Barcelona. So he'll be hoping he can convert this. In, as you say, been on the podium at Jerez. We'll hope. Sorry, it was at Jerez. We'll hope to get another one in Barcelona.
As you see, Xavi 02 is up now, sitting in P2. It's fair to say Misano, it's still some great riding for 02s, and perhaps a little bit under the radar, and that's thanks to the other side of the box with Alberto Sura grabbing victory. But nonetheless, 02s, what a year it's been for him. Multiple podiums this year, and certainly looking like a rider that's really beginning to settle in this Moto2 class.
It does look like the number 85 has settled in very well. Obviously, the end of this season, podium at Misano, I'd say a bit overshadowed by Sura claiming victory. Did have podiums at Magny-Cours as well. Starts P2, obviously been on the front row plenty of times before, had a pole this year. We'll be hoping he can claim the first victory.
Alberto Fernandez as well. Now, let's not forget the drama that we had between the likes of Fernandez in Misano. Turn 8 springs to mind, and while there was a little bit of contact between the two of them, both of them ended up going down, and that really opened the race wide open.
It did. It effectively allowed Sura to escape at the front because the three of them were fighting very hard for victory. The contact at turn 8 obviously took both of them well out of contention for that win, and Sura was there to take advantage.
Yeah, and he certainly took advantage of that, I think it's fair to say. He didn't need a second invitation for it. But Orradre, of course, enters the weekend as your championship leader. Not much of a buffer between himself and the field behind, but nonetheless, he's known for being able to handle pressure. 7 points of the gap for himself, and headed into this one, it cannot be decided, but he can certainly put himself in a nice position for the final couple of races of the year. So we now see him chilling on the grid, perhaps looking a little bit nervy before this one.
It did look like he looked a bit pensive on the grid there. Yeah, the number 10 can't win it in race 1. Potentially can be decided in race 2, but obviously depends on what happens in this race. I'd say a 7-point lead over Alberto Sura in second. Would need to leave Barcelona after race 2 25 points clear to be, or 25 points or more clear to be assured of the title.
And you can just hear the sirens ringing out around the circuit, just letting teams know that the time is ticking down. As we see it on the front fairing, on the front screen, get well soon, of course, to Noah Detweiler and Jose Antonio Rueda after their crash at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Of course, we send our best wishes to both riders after that collision. But Milan Pavlic had a word with him in the paddock yesterday, and he's feeling strong ahead of this one. He thought that, I spoke to him just ahead of qualifying, he thought perhaps the top 3, a front row, was definitely on the cards. That for him hasn't materialised, but nonetheless, the key factor for him is going to be having the tyre that lasts all the way to the end of the race. So perhaps the first couple of laps taking things a little bit easier.
Exactly. This is a track over 15 laps especially where you can play different strategies. You can be fast at the start, build up a gap and hope you've got enough to maintain it, or you can be a bit more methodical and just be more consistent throughout the race to get the best position possible, and eventually towards the end those strategies will converge.
Yeah, and we're going to have to wait and see how this one unfolds. What strategy will the riders pick? Sura certainly looks ready to go. He sits just on the end of the second row, starts in P6 at this beautiful, beautiful circuit. It's a real fan favourite venue to attend because you can see a good amount from the grandstand. You see a nice amount of track action. It's always good racing as well. As Marozio now also starts on the grid. What a good qualifying result has been for him. Of course, one podium so far this year, but nonetheless, Alessandro is going to be hoping, after starting on that third row of the grid, to work his way in, at least inside the top 5.
Been very quick in the last couple of rounds. Will be obviously on the podium at Aragon. We'll be hoping he can go with the lead group. That will be a good solid start and give him a good platform to potentially challenge for a podium.
Yeah, and challenging for a podium here today is going to be a key result. Xavi Artigas now as well. He was, of course, involved in that opening lap collision that we've seen at Misano. Luckily, everyone relatively okay after that one. We didn't have to throw out the red flag. Everyone was able to get up the circuit relatively quick and get everything cleaned up nice and quick as well. But Xavi Artigas will be hoping for a better weekend, I think it's fair to say, here in Barcelona.
He will definitely be hoping for a better weekend at his home track. Obviously from Barcelona, 8th on the grid, will be looking to, same as Morossi, go with that lead group, put himself in a great position to fight for a potential podium.
As Oscar Gutierrez looks confident, he's looking focused to say the very least. And certainly Oscar, super experienced, raced in Moto2 and has become one of the top names in the Moto2 World Championship. But of course, perhaps a slightly different look to his 2026 season. We'll have to wait and see for any news for him. But nonetheless, Oscar Gutierrez starting inside the top 10. He's going to be hoping to work his way through the order on that end of the third row. But the team's now making their way off the grid as we begin to get set for an important race if the likes of Orradre wants to set up match point in race 2. So Moto2 European Championship race 1 just a few moments away. Gimbert as well rounding out our top 10 on the grid. Ahead of some big names like the likes of Cursavan, who had an eventful Saturday, I think it's fair to say, for Cursavan. Of course, he goes further down the order from P13, but nonetheless, after what happened yesterday, he's going to want to work his way through the field. Yeah,
Cursavan was caught up in a collision in Q2 with Orradre Ruiz. The number 72 has a long lap penalty for irresponsible riding for that. It also impacted Facundo Yambias.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll be seeing the get well soon messages for Yambias. But nonetheless, Orradre, what can he do in this one as we go prepared to go racing for Moto2? So now let's have a look at our starting grid. Eric Fernandez starts race 1 from pole position. He goes alongside Xavi Zuratuza and Alberto Ferrandez. Unai Orradre, Championship leaders, heads row 2 alongside Milan Pavelec and Alberto Sura. Marozio Artigas and Oscar Gutierrez starts from row 3 with Gimbert, Monjardo and Jimenez starting on row 4. Cursavan, Ruiz and Harrison Voigt rounding out our top 15 with Ludena, Fallon and Mario Mayor going from P18. Josh Watley, Wally and Ramos goes from our top 21 with Rossimur, Ruda and Palmera starting from P24. Van Trout, Eisenkopf and Kim, while the final row is taken up by Alcobayese, who of course has that penalty. Now, we're not too far away. We're ready to go out on our warm-up lap, and we're nearly ready to go racing. Just one more circulation around this circuit before the reds will rise, and they can drop the clutches. Actually, that looks to be an issue there. Is that potentially the number 86? It does look like it is. Can he get the bike restarted? We'll have to wait and find out. The bike's on the starters. Actually, there's 86 in the back of his levers, but that is the 6. That is the 82. So a rush down there in pit lane to try and get the bike restarted. Mayo Mayor, can he get the bike going again? They've got it on the launch, they're trying. These Moto2 bikes can be very, very difficult to get started.
They can be very difficult to get started. We see him pull away there, so obviously a bit of relief for Mario Mayor. I'm not 100% sure on how it will play out from here because he came off the grid ahead of the warm-up lap, and obviously there were things that happened throughout the season which could play a role there. But the main thing for him is he got the bike going.
Yeah, certainly. He's going to make it start to the race nonetheless. And if he's allowed out pit lane, he should just rejoin on to the back of the field and then be able to get racing again. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But nonetheless, we're nearly ready to get going again. Alberto Sura, get some temperature in his tyres, get some temperature in his brakes as well. We've spoken about time and time again about the temperature around this circuit. But although it's slightly chillier than maybe what it would be in a July or August, it's for sure that you're still going to have safe tyres, especially around the likes of turn 3 on these Moto2 machines, where you can really spin up the rear and suddenly within 5 or 6 laps you completely destroy all your grip, and then the last half of the race is going to be so difficult.
Absolutely, there's a lot of long corners at this circuit. You mentioned turn 3, we've also got turn 4, coming through turn 12 here, and then obviously the final 2 corners, turn 13, turn 14, always on the right side of the tyre as well. It's crucial to make sure you can maintain the tyre life throughout the race to be quick at the end. That's where it's crucial.
Yeah, it's a real race of two halves. I would suggest this one's going to play out. Of course, turn 10 as well, also on the side of the tyre, picking up the throttle. But nonetheless, we wait for the field to head out. And we'll wait and see exactly what happens here. So, Eric Fernandez, a great lap in qualifying. Will it be a great race for him today? 15 laps of action coming up, race 1 for the European Moto2 Championship, as he slots himself into prime real estate, into pole position in front of the on-watching Barcelona fans. There will be a slight wait, I would suggest, for some of the riders. Actually, Mario Mayor looked like he was working his way through the field there, unless that was his teammate. But nonetheless, we'll keep an eye out for him out on circuit. As the green flag does wave at the back, and we are ready to get going. Who's going to take victory this time around? His lights out and away, we are racing. A great start for Eric Fernandez. He claims the whole shot in the run to turn 1. It's fair to say number 4 knows how to get that bike off the line. Slots into the second position though. It's going to be the 54 of Fernandez. Pavlets though on into third position. It's going to get squeezed by Unai Orradre, your championship leader, who's already into the podium places. It's exactly what he needed to do at the start of this one, as now Orradre battles his way through.
Yeah, Fernandez with a great start. A little bit of wheelie off the line, but able to hold P1 on the long run into turn 1. With Fernandez right behind him, a good start from Orradre as well. Pavlets on the inside of the number 10 through turn 4, I believe that is, to demote. Pavlek does keep position or into podium contention there.
Yeah, Pavlet's now in third position at the moment. He entered it over at turn 1 and 2, and suddenly, well, he's looking strong in these opening couple of laps. He did speak about tyre life, but on this opening lap, you still have to get the hammer down. You still have to push to the absolute limit. Yellow flag showing at turn 3 as well. That could be the number 70 of Josh Watley, but of course we'll keep an eye out for that one. Now the battle does continue on at the front of things. You need to watch the exit there, because the green paint is on the exit of the curb. Track limits could play a factor, as down into turn 10 we head now. Unai Orradre looks up the inside of Pavlets, not able to make it work though this time around. Perhaps just building temperature up on his front tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. Building temperature up will be crucial. As you mentioned, green paint. You can't go on there. If you exceed the track limits multiple times, you'll get a warning. Eventually it'll be a long lap penalty. On the last lap, even more crucial, because you'll be demoted one place, especially if you're in a fight with a battle. Just to talk about Josh Watley, it looked like on the start he was looking behind and waving, so it looked like he had an issue right from the very start of the race and pulled up very quickly.
Whatever the case, it doesn't seem like he's going to be completing this opening lap of action. You can see confirmation of that long lap penalty for Ruiz, as now down to turn 1 we head. Launching the move down the inside was Zuratuza. That's going to lose them a little bit of time. Pavlets now looking to fight back, as well as number 82 now being shown double long lap penalty. So that is of course going to be for Mario Mayor. Now we did see him take up his original grid slot, so perhaps that being the penalty for taking up his original place.
Yeah, there's obviously the rules changed after the America's GP with the Marc Marquez weather situation. So I suspect the double long lap penalty is related to pulling off the grid on the warm-up lap and then rejoining it.
Now Pavlets, he's in P4, he's dropped off the podium places, but nonetheless he's still under a lot of pressure from behind. He's not cracking just yet. The top 2 remain the same. Eric Fernandez and Alberto Ferrandis, a little bit of history between them, let's not forget, but nonetheless, I'm sure they're going to race their cleanest out on circuit. Over the line last time around, 91 thousandths of a second separated them, but nonetheless, we head into turn 10 now, nice and clean.
Yeah, as we say, history between them from Misano where they made contact. They were fighting with Alberto Soda at that point as well, so it was almost 3 riders into 1. Fernandez still leading from his from the number 54 of Fernandez. Apologise in advance if we get confused between the two names. Very, very similar. Zuratuza up to 3rd as well. He's just under a second behind. He can close his gap, still 13 laps to go as they cross the line, but he'll need to push and perhaps use a bit too much tyre that'll be crucial for Zuratuza's race.
The fastest laps of the race clock, and then of course the first were flying laps, and well, I can almost hear the sigh of release from teams down in pit lane because we have no jump starts from any of the riders. Now Unai Orradre launched the move on Milan Pavelec, as now Pavelec drops back down to P5. Zuratuza holding the fastest lap of the race so far. A 1:43 is the pace that he's able to run. The rest of the riders though within this top 10 sitting inside the 1:44 bracket. So Zuratuza putting the hammer down ever so slightly in his first couple of laps. He was 2 to 3 tenths quicker, maybe even 4 tenths quicker than the riders ahead.
4 tenths quicker than Fernandez, a couple of tenths quicker than Fernandez. Quickest in the first sector by just around 2 tenths as well. So he is putting the hammer down, looking to close that gap now. We see it move at turn 5 by number 5, Fallon, getting ahead of Ruda at turn 5, the left-hander.
Yeah, of course, Fallon, super experienced from his World Championship days, and now continuing to race here in the Moto2 European Championship. We come out of turn 9 yet again, and you can see how close they do get towards the green paint, using all the curb possible out on circuit, and that's what you have to do in this class if you want to make up the lap time. Zuratuza is definitely closed in, and when he's closing in, he's bringing the rest of the riders behind him. He's bringing this group closer and closer and making more riders in the mix for this podium fight.
He's dragging Orradre and Pavelec with him. It's now a 5-rider group at the head of the field for victory as Fernandez continuously 2 tenths at the last sector point. The slipstream down into turn 1, it's a very long run into the heavy braking zone. So he could be under threat from Fernandez, and obviously Zuratuza has a double slipstream to take advantage of as well.
Yeah, of course, slipstream still playing a massive factor in Moto2. Perhaps not as much as something like European Talent Cup or JuniorGP, but still super effective, especially if it's 2 or 3 bikes ahead of you out on circuit. Helps cut the air for you. Now Pavelec slots back in. Some moves though happening behind, and that looks to be Alberto Sura just continuing to fight away. Now there is Ruiz taking the long lap penalty. The long lap penalty, slightly unique here at Barcelona. Turn 1 and turn 2 it's located. That is not a usual hairpin style long lap like we see at almost every other circuit in the world. Instead, it's this cut-in that you have to take a slightly wider line through the corner.
Yeah, it's a slightly wider version of the turn 1-2 layout, effectively. It's a bit of a chicane to take the long lap. You'll lose... The idea of the long lap is to lose around 3 seconds compared to a normal race lap. We just saw Fernandez have a look behind him to see what the situation was with Fernandez, the number 4 and the number 54, not changing positions, but Zuratuza all over them right now.
Yeah, I think when Eric Fernandez took a big look behind there, I think he must be wondering if it's still the first lap or not, because this group is absolutely bunched up together. Zuratuza now continuing to push on behind because he knows if he doesn't attack very, very soon he's going to have the number 10 down the inside. And actually, Unai Orradre takes that opportunity now. He launches the move at turn 10, and he has made it work. Zuratuza on the outside now, and he will be on the inside for turn 11, but too far back. Milan Pavelec, front row tickets for this one as he watches the podium battle unfold, and a couple of riders running wide.
Couple of riders running wide, easy to do through these right-handers. You try and take obviously as much speed as you can. Very difficult to maintain a consistent racing line, if you like, especially when you're in a group as well.
And now you can just see coming over the line we go to make it 11 laps to go. You can see the pit board, the bright yellow pit board out there in circuit. That is the penalty board down there in the box, watching on. Nervous faces as Unai Orradre launches the move into second place, and he has made that one stick. So Eric Fernandez now has a new rival behind him. And what's going to happen here in Moto2 European Championship Race 1? Is it going to be a move already for Orradre? The championship leader hits the front as we head to turn 4. Heavy on the anchors yet again. How long will the number 4 take to respond? You suggest not too much longer because no one really knows how much pace Orradre has in his back pocket.
You would suspect not too long, but perhaps I'll just follow him for a lap or two. We see Pavelec on the inside, sideways into turn 5, getting ahead of Zuratuza. We see the reaction in the Orradre box after he moved into P1 he is now.
Yeah, smiles all around from Dennis Foggia, of course. Famous name for many of these, certainly for the likes of JuniorGP riders, someone that will be looking up to. So great to see Foggia in the paddock as we head towards turn 10 yet again. The number 10 leads heading into this one. That is where he took the lead actually for this one. But Milan Pavelec sitting in P4. And well, we've seen how dramatic turn 1 was. Heavy on the brakes, you can just see the front mud guards shaking about into the brake zone, the rear wheels moving about, and then Orradre swooping round to the outside in turn 1 to have the inside for turn 2. It's a tactic that we've seen from many.
It is a tactic that is very common here. Obviously, multiple different lines through the opening chicane. In normal circumstances, especially at the start, you can cut back, you can go around the outside and take the inside into turn 2. We'll see it throughout the racing as well, not just at the start.
As now heading back into turn 1, a defensive line swooping back to the normal racing line for Orradre by the time he made it to the corner. Now sitting in P5, JuniorGP. His teammate, meanwhile, Alberto Sura, not able to make up too much ground. He's sitting around 7th position as we look at the championship order. And with that, it will put Ferrandez and Sura tied on points in second with 23 points, separating them in the live championship order. Now this is putting Unai Orradre in a great position, of course, for later on. As well, now we continue on here because in Valencia, just one race away. So 25 points clear after today, more than 25 points clear after today will seal Orradre the championship.
It will. We just see here the number 97, Kim, showing frustration, obviously has come to a stop. It looks like at turn 10 as Orradre continues to lead ahead of Fernandez. Fernandez looks like he's going to challenge the number 4. We need to see where Kim was stopped on track, of course, because if the yellow flags are out, that will potentially take away an overtaking opportunity. Looks like it's at the final corner, not a common place to pass unless it's a last lap.
Yeah, disappointment there for the number 97, but nonetheless, the riders will be keeping their eye on the flags as we head out, showing no yellow flags though over there. So now we do come towards the final sector. Now we tip it in for turn 13, and then it will be turn 14, where of course we've seen so many last lap moves, including today. Not going to spoil anything if you missed the first race of the day, but definitely go back and watch the action as we head down the main straight yet again. Fernandez in the slipstream. What can Eric do this time around? Will he launch an attack on the run to turn 1? You can see the teams cheering on their riders down the main straight with the pit boards as we tip it into turn 1 and 2 yet again.
Orradre a bit twitchy under braking heading into turn 1. Obviously not under, well, he is under pressure from Fernandez behind, but Fernandez wasn't close enough to take advantage of the moment for the number 10.
Yeah, and at the moment it's just being comfortable with the bike moving about, with it sliding slightly underneath you, because as you get into these final 5, 4, 3 laps, it's going to be super difficult. You're going to be losing grip lap on lap, corner by corner, in fact, especially if you begin spinning up that rear tire. So having a bike that moves about underneath you and you're comfortable with that certainly plays into your advantage here at Barcelona.
It can. As we say, tyre wear is crucial around this circuit. Obviously, as you mentioned, we're here in November. It's a bit colder than if you came in the middle of summer, but tyres wear out very quickly here. Lots of long, fast corners, which does play a massive role in determining the outcome of any race.
Over the line last time around, the gap between the leaders sat around 0.2 of a second. What's going to be this time? Now, confirmation, of course, number 97 has retired. It did look like he grounded to a halt. As down the inside, that is going to be Alberto Sura, picking up yet another position. He's continuing to battle further back. Now, a slight gap between himself and his teammate, of course. So ahead of Gimbert goes Sura, and now setting sights on JuniorGP. And setting sights, most importantly, as well, on claiming a spot inside the top 5.
For Soda, it's about damage limitation at this point, with Orradre taking at the head of the field, hoping to take victory. He's around 7 tenths behind JuniorGP. Will make up some time, but whether it will be enough, because he'll have to really use the tyres to gain a big chunk on his teammate.
Pavelit still lurking in P4. Not too much moves made so far, but his strategy was just tyre saving towards the end. So perhaps we'll see number 44 make his way up the order towards the end of the race.
Perhaps, yeah. It's a strategy he's used quite a few times this year to move up in the latter stages. We saw it plenty of times this season. He's in a good position, if that is his strategy, for less than a second away from Orradre out in front.
At the moment, it's just a waiting game of when the move will arrive. When will the likes of Eric Fernandez have his first taste of P1 after losing the lead a few laps ago? Here we are at turn 5, then they'll power the way towards turn 6. Turn 6 though, just a kink before turn 7, and straight away, as soon as you enter turn 7, you're already picking up the bike yet again to get onto the power towards turn 8, and now turn 9 for the back straight.
There's no respite in sector 2 at all. As you say, through the kink of 6, then you have the chicane of 7 and 8, and then turn 9. This short straight into turn 10 at overtaking opportunity, you can't really rest because you're probably being attacked or you're trying to attack someone.
Yeah, you're constantly using your brain, you're constantly looking for an opportunity to find time here in Barcelona, but Orradre now sitting firm, and this top 3 have sat solid the last couple of laps. Still, the gap between the top 2 sits around 0.2 of a second, around 0.2 separating the likes of Eric and Alberto in second and third, as now we head to make it 7 laps to go. We come out the final corner now, try to stay off that green paint on the outside. So far today, everyone has been pretty well behaved for that.
They have, maybe not in the first lap, but that's understandable when you're in a massive group. But so far, throughout the rest of the race, it's been pretty good. Just a note on Alberto Soler, he was around 7 tenths behind his teammate. That's actually gone up to 1.1 now. So perhaps he doesn't have the pace at this stage to close in on the top 5.
Yeah, of course, and he's got Xavi Artigas for company as well, just behind them now. And, well, Artigas, a very experienced rider in his own right, of course, World Championship experience, now racing the European Championship, just like, of course, Sura has in the past. So, a rider that's as capable of yourself behind you, it's certainly a challenge to keep them behind.
It will definitely be a challenge for Sura. We know what Artigas can do. We know what Artigas can do on any bike he jumps onto. Sura, at the moment, around 2 tenths clear of the number 43.
Yeah, and as we continue on, we'll have a look into turn 1 now. You can see now Orradre breaking a lot about the curb, but bobble off the front as well as he tips in to turn 1. Eric Fernandez as well, a slight bit of chatter as he goes to tip it in, but not much at all. Nothing to be worried about for him. And then, of course, Alberto Fernandez out on circuit 2. He was, of course, meatball flagged over at Misano. That was too much damage to his machine. Luckily, no damage so far in this race anyway for himself.
It's been a nice, clean race at this point. 7 laps to go, around halfway through. Orradre still leading, less than 2 tenths ahead of Fernandez, with Fernandez just hovering. Orradre just had his foot off the peg there, it looked like. Fernandez is just hovering a little bit behind, perhaps eyeing up where he could potentially make moves in the latter stages, and Pavlets as well. Potentially the same strategy from him.
Yeah, so now heading towards to make it 6 laps to go. Orradre certainly pushing on, I think it's fair to say. Last time around, however, it was a great second sector from Alberto Fernandez. So beginning to push on, I think it's fair to see him. Pavlets, he'll be learning lap on lap and exactly where he can attack to the riders ahead. Of course, at the moment, the top 3 have no information on Milan Pavlets because he's sitting there behind them, learning and gathering all the data.
He's gathering lots of information. We just see Yero Relief after his long lap penalty coming through at turn 1 to move into P17. Points, perhaps a difficult ask. He's a couple of seconds away from Roman Ramos in P15. Yeah, Pavlets is learning lots about Orradre and Fernandez. 6 laps to go. Perhaps he needs to close that gap a little bit. He's around 3 tenths behind Fernandez, and obviously he'll need to close that gap and make the moves. It could be a bit too much for the number 44, but we know he has this ability to do it.
Yeah, he's able to grit his teeth and really bite the screen for a couple of laps. But running wide there was your race leader, Unai Orradre. Somehow he's managed to keep on to that position. So into turn 7, he ran wide, had to run it all the way onto the curb over at turn 8. That flips round to the right. And now having a big look behind and seeing that Eric is still right there on his exhaust pipe. And it's certainly fair to say, I think he was expecting the move to arrive.
I think he was expecting the move to arrive. Luckily for Orradre, turn 9 is not a place you often see overtakes. So he was able to defend that position through turn 9, looked behind to see how close it was into 10, kept P1 for now. But we also see Fernandez is all over the back of Fernandez heading through the final corner, but on the green there. That could come into play later in the race.
Yeah, a little nibble of the green for Alberto Fernandez. He doesn't want to do that too many more times over this next 5 laps of racing action. The Moto2 European Championship rolls into the penultimate round of the year, and so far, Orradre, he's looked pretty much unstoppable since he's hit the front. Xavi Artigas now inside, or briefly inside the top 5. He's dropped back down to 7th, and Zuratuza and Sura also remaining in position. But last time around, you can see Fernandez quicker than the 2 riders ahead, around a 10th quicker than the 2 riders ahead.
Obviously, Orradre would have lost time through that mistake, which obviously cost him around a 10th compared to his rivals. Perhaps Fernandez had to check up a little bit as well, just to make sure nothing was going to happen. Ferrandez all over the back of them. And obviously, as we can see, they have dropped Zura2. Zura is now just a 10th behind his teammate. So looking at the times, it looked like Sura was quicker than Zura2, so perhaps the 85 has used up too much tyre.
Further back down the order, Francesco Mongiardo is showing as in the pits, so that could be a retirement for him, of course. Quick at Misano, showing good pace in the podium places before a crash brought an end to his hopes, but nonetheless, Mongiardo, not the way he would have wanted it to end it, so hopefully he can get whatever issue it was fixed for race 2.
Hopefully he can, yeah. We just see Pavlets, he's really on the back of Ferrandez, had a look at turn 10, didn't make the move there. He'll need to make one very quickly, perhaps into turn 1, although potentially lost a bike length or 2 to the number 54 ahead. But turn 1, he'll need to start making moves if he wants a chance of winning this race.
Yeah, it's really beginning to enter crunch time here in race 1. Orradre continuing to lead, and Milan Pavlets needs to begin to charge his way, barge his way if needed up the order, and that's what you have to do as Moto2 class. It's a real aggressive class. It's clean racing but fair racing. It's certainly hard racing out on circuit. As we head towards turn 1 yet again, it's so impressive how consistent this top 4 have been able to be.
It's very impressive. It's hard to be consistent here. We see Sura on the inside of Zura2 at turn 1, getting ahead of his teammate. He will have a big gap to make up to the top 4 though, so 5th, probably the best Sura can do unless drama hits the top 4.
Top 5 though would still be a great result for Sura, albeit still losing some points to his championship rivals. But nonetheless, it's better than the P7 finish, which currently Xavier Artigas is in. But 43, he's not going to be waiting around that long. Zura2's up. He was nice and close to his front group in the first half, but perhaps now beginning to run into a few tyre issues as the 85.
Perhaps, yeah, as we said, it's easy to use up too much tyre in the early stages of the race, and that leaves you vulnerable through the final third. We see Sura has quite clearly pulled out a gap over the 85, and it's Artigas now all over Zura2 through turn 7 and 8 on the run into 9. Is he going to have a look at turn 9? He is. The number 43 at the inside of turn 9. A remarkable move from Artigas.
Textbook maneuver for Artigas. Now he sets sights on Alberto Sura. Looking up the inside though is Alberto Ferrandez, and he has made that one work over at turn 10. So Eric Fernandez now has dropped back down to 3rd and could have the likes of Pavlets for company very, very soon. However, is this the first move needed for this top 3 battle to well and truly begin? We head towards the final corner in just a few moments time, tipping it in now, and it's all going to be on what drive can they get. Eric Fernandez is going to be in the slipstream for this one. He's going to be hoping that he can get ahead on the run to turn 1. However, how defensive will that 54 be? You can see along that penalty for the 88, but looking up the inside, this is number 4. Thinks better of it and slots back in. A slightly more defensive line than maybe what he was expecting Alberto to take.
Perhaps a more defensive line as we see Zura2 back ahead of Sura, so it looked like Sura had the advantage over Zura2, but the number 85 is back ahead. Artigas has dropped behind this group as well, so I wonder if there was a mistake somewhere that has changed the order. Artigas looking up the inside but unable to make the move. So can Sura outbrake his teammate into turn 4? No, the 85 holds on.
Yeah, Artigas there over at turn 3. It was nearly one of those moves where your knee sider is on the grass on the inside. You're going that tight into the corner. And you can actually see Orradre at the front. He can have just a little bit of a gap between the rest of them because now they're beginning to fight behind. But nonetheless, I'm sure this battle for first to fourth is going to rage on. As for this battle for the final spot inside the top 5, Artigas down the inside and now demoting Sura one more position. So Sura down to 7th.
Sura down to 7th. Artigas is making moves at corners. You don't really make moves at turn 9 and then turn 7. He's determined to get a top 5 result here, and it's possible if he can get close to Zura2 into turn 10. Not close enough to make the move this time.
Yeah, no, not quite close enough at turn 10. You need to be pretty level into that corner, or there's of course a chance to swoop it round the outside and try and send the move over at turn 11 up the inside that we have seen done throughout the weekend. But nonetheless, it's still such a tricky move, especially as late in the race whenever your tyre life is starting to be drained away. Now Artigas right on the rear tyre of Zura2. Yellow flags are out over at turn 9. So hopefully no sorts of big issues down there. Nonetheless, we head towards turn 1 yet again. Orradre contains lead all the way out to the edge of the curb. There was nothing else left before he ran off the circuit there.
Nothing left at all. If he did touch the red, it doesn't matter in terms of track limits violation, so just trying to take as much speed as he can throughout turn 1 as he looks to maintain the gap. He's around 2 turns clear of Fernandez at the moment. Actually, it looked like Fernandez and Fernandez were side by side through 3, but the number 54 holds P2 heading into turn 4. And yeah, we still have the yellow flags out at turn 9. Owen van Tricht coming down.
Yeah, so a massive shame there for Owen. Hopefully, no big issues for him as we look at a replay for the Dutch rider. Into turn 9 he goes and just losing the front. That went pretty early into the corner, and well, sadly for him, that is going to be race over. So he walks off, luckily, a punch to the wall for the mistake. And well, it's time to go back to the drawing board for race 2.
It is, obviously the yellow flags are still out as we see Marshall's recovering his bike, so no overtakes into turn 9 this time. On the run into turn 10, Orradre far enough ahead to defend position comfortably at this stage, although Fernandez was all over the back of him heading through turn 11 and into 12.
As down in the pit box, continuing to watch this battle unfold. Orradre, what a race it's been so far. You have to say, a 7-point advantage in the championship is not much at all, but being able to go to the front of a race and lead it in the way that he has, with the championship pressure on your back, you have a chance to set it up for race 2. It's been simply astonishing so far.
It has been almost the perfect race for Orradre. We'll see if he can defend P1 on the run into turn 1 on the final lap. But as you say, winning the race will extend his lead by at least 5 points over his rivals, depending on where the others finish, of course.
So final lap time. Unai Orradre, championship leader, continues to lead the way, but it's Alberto Fernandez just behind, and then just behind him, Eric Fernandez, your pole sitter, the number 4, looking at the inside at turn 3 there. Can he make a move work over at turn 4? No, he cannot. Sitting in formation. Now out at turn 4, they'll come plenty of different lines out here towards turn 5. It's just getting over to the right-hand side of the circuit for the riders, left-hand side for us, as Eric Fernandez launches a move down at turn 5. Certainly impressive stuff. He had the bike sliding all the way into the corner, and now he's made it work into second place. And if Alberto responds here at turn 7, it's going to get tricky now for them to catch up to Unai Orradre in P1. It looks like, at the moment, Alberto is on the push.
Alberto is on a push, and actually this is exactly what Orradre would want. If they're fighting, they're going to lose time to the number 10, and that will help him take victory in this opening Moto2 race of the weekend. Number 54 sideways again, and the number 4 also sideways heading into turn 10.
Yes, sideways and continuing to push on. It's fair to say that you can tell by the body language of Alberto Fernandez that he is trying his best. He's given it 150% on this final lap. Unai Orradre, he took the lead in the mid-stage of the race, and since then, he's been unstoppable. We go into the final corner, and it's another move at the final corner. Eric Fernandez launches a move on Fernandez down the inside, but it's Unai Orradre who takes victory in Moto2 European Championship Race 1. 0.2 of a second of an advantage of Eric Fernandez, your pole sitter, claiming P2. What a move at the final corner, as third place goes the way of Alberto Fernandez. Pavelit and Artigas round out the top 5. So Artigas getting the better of Zurtuza and Sura, as we see few more riders across the line. Ruiz now over the line after serving, of course, their penalty up into P19 at the flag in the finish up. Harrison Voigt P20 for him. Not what he'd be hoping for after the pace that he's shown in Misano. But celebrations all round. It's a Bosco Oscuro on the top step of the podium. Unai Orradre takes the win. His teammate Alberto Fernandez in P3, but celebrations all round, and I think the number 10 knows how crucial that result is going to be for later on this afternoon. For race 2, that of course is still to come up on our schedule. So celebrations all round with his fellow riders. Palmera just having a celebration as well, clarifying that it was Orradre that took victory, and then of course celebrating with him. I'm sure there will be some more celebrations. Kursavan as well, very, very happy for his teammate. Kursavan finished down in P14. But Eric Fernandez will go back to the drawing board for that victory later on this afternoon. The Moto2 class, of course, they only had one race at Misano. They're lucky enough to be treated to 2 races here in Barcelona. However, at the final round in Valencia, it's just going to be 1 race, meaning 25 points or more is the key number. trying to do a burnout for the Marshals. Sadly, not working out for him this time around. Now, the number 19, a 3-second time penalty has been given. So Morozio has been given a 3-second time penalty. That's for a shortcut over at turns 1 and 2. And of course, if you do end up running wide, you need to lose around a second in that sector. Otherwise, you will receive a penalty. And with it being in the final stages, a long lap was turned into 3 seconds. And there is confirmation of said penalty. So delight, celebrations, and I'm sure it will continue down in Parc Fermé in just a few moments' time. The Moto2 European Championship continuing to deliver in front of a pretty full circuit, the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, where plenty of fans have made their way to watch all the racing action unfold here today. JuniorGP is loved to say the very least. But here is the championship standings after that one. Orradre, 23 points is his championship margin. He bows as he enters Parc Fermé. He needs to stretch that gap by just a couple more points, and then the championship will be his in race 2. However, you have to say, the championship rivals are going to be as determined as ever to put a stop to the number 10. So onto the weighbridge he will go now. He'll just make sure everything is correct, as should be. Of course, with his levers, helmets on, etc. As Eric Fernandez, well, we said he was a man of few words after qualifying, and nonetheless, I'm sure he'll be coming up with plenty of words in the debrief later on to find 1 or 2 improvements to really put himself in fighting contention. Celebration, the smiles, the hugs, everything begins now for the Boss Oscuro squad. Team Chatty, of course, super impressive stuff for them all year long, and getting a little surprise there from our camera. But securing the 25 points when it counts is exactly what Unai Orradre needed to do. As Eric looks a little bit disappointed with that one, to say the very least. No smiles down there in P2. Team reassuring them that it is a good result, and certainly 20 points to be proud of. But you have to say, Eric thinking inside that perhaps there was a little bit left on the table, perhaps there was an opportunity missed for victory this time out. And same with Alberto Ferrandez. Have a little talk there down the Parc Fermé. A few things to work on, certainly. A few things that perhaps he's not the happiest with, but nonetheless, what a race, what a result. And now, of course, team photos do get taken. They'll appear on the team's social media later on, you would think. But nonetheless, Orradre is P1, and that's all which matters at the end of the day. And well, let's take a look at the race winning overtake. It was a brave move over at turn 3, using a little bit more tyre than perhaps the rest of the field. And then, of course, this final corner lunge from Eric Fernandez to salvage P2 in race 1. Over the line, Orradre came, and he knew it was job done this time around. That's all he could have done. That's the maximum that he could do. And Celebration certainly delighted with that one. Perfect, and showing that he is top dog at the moment in Moto2 European Championship. Of course, appreciation to all the fans watching trackside, but nonetheless, what a race it was, as Unai Orradre does take P1 and is down in Parc Fermé speaking to Jack.
Unai Orradre, victory here in race 1 in Barcelona and a chance to wrap up the title this afternoon. How did you feel after that one?
Yeah, the weekend is going amazing. We work a lot during all the weekend for the race pace, and I choose another option tire than my other opponents. And I try to be calm in the first laps and then push a bit more. And it's incredible, first victory here. Now it's time to calm, to work and to prepare the second race.
And now in Spanish for all your fans.
Sí, la verdad que está siendo un fin de semana buenísimo. Llevamos todo el fin de semana trabajando mucho el ritmo. De hecho, he cogido una opción de neumático diferente a la del resto de mis compañeros. Y la estrategia era esa, las primeras vueltas tratar de mantenerme calmado, gestionar el neumático y las últimas apretar. Y así ha sido. Me he puesto en primera posición, he tratado de impartir un ritmo sin acusar del todo el neumático y nos llevamos a esta posición importante para el campeonato. Y ahora a calmarnos, a trabajar y a por la segunda.
Unai, congratulations.
Thank you.
Unai Orradre, not only your championship leader, but your race winner in race 1 of the Moto2 European Championship. Orradre, it was a great start to the race. He put himself towards the podium places as Eric Fernandez, your pole sitter, hit the front of the race. Unai Orradre began to work his way through the order, chasing the likes of Milan Pavelich before launching the move over at turn 1. Xabi Zurutuza was also involved in the podium fight in the early stages, pushing himself and Orradre wide. It was elbows out action towards the top 5 order as Yari Ruiz served their long lap penalty. We join them further back down the order. Turn 10 was a hot spot throughout the race for moves, certainly for Unai Orradre, who launched an attack on Zurutuza, placing himself back into the podium positions before at turn 1, launching this move on Alberto Ferrandez. Number 4 immediately felt the pressure. At turn 3, it was your championship leader who slid it up the inside. And well, that was the key move. That was your race-winning overtake. Milan Pavelich, further back, launched his attack. There was a few retirements throughout, including 97 of Kim Josh Watley as well earlier on in the race. But nonetheless, that didn't affect things at the front of the order. Zurutuza and Xavi Artigas had their own fight for the final spot inside the top 5. The battle for second position was fierce, of Eric and Alberto fighting the way. We did have this fall from Owen van Tricht, with the Dutch rider following at turn 9. He would show his frustration with the tyre wall, but nonetheless, it was all she wrote for race 1. He did walk away from the incident with Eric Fernandez launching this move at turn 5. Unai Orradre, he wasn't able to watch this battle unfold, but luckily we were, because it was intense drama at the front. There's very few mistakes from our top 3 riders. It went down to the final corner for P2 with Eric Fernandez launching the move up the inside as Unai Orradre celebrated the win and celebrates a 23-point lead.
Moto2, empezamos en representación al equipo vencedor.
Now the time is for the podium. Podium celebrations just beginning. First of all, of course, the team representative. And then we'll have third, second, and first before the trophies are handed out. And the bubbly can be opened. Third position, though, goes the way of Alberto Ferrandez. No smiles just yet for him, but looking back on today, he will be pleased with his pace in that one. There was nothing separating the top 4 riders. Eric Fernandez, second place for himself. And as you heard, Unai Orradre, P1, your race winner, your championship leader, of course, and it's match point in race 2. Will it be decided today, or will it roll on to Valencia? We're not going to wait too much longer to find out, as the trophies are coming out. So the Team Chiati happy with that one, to say the very least. As Ferrandez claims his trophy. Now, beautiful trophies that we have on display here in the Moto2 European Championship. Of course, 2 races left this season, and after we leave this weekend, just 25 points will be left up for grabs. Eric Fernandez now receiving his trophy. As finally, it's time for Unai Orradre to continue his celebrations before it's all back to work later on. Hand out the trophy for this one. It's going to be Colin Vire, of course, Moto2 World Championship rider. Certainly a star in the making. I'm sure Unai Orradre is going to want to join him as we hear the national anthem ring out.
Ok, congratulations, enhorabuena, Unai Orradre, Eddie Fernández y Alberto Fernández. 3 pilotos españoles. Vámonos con la
So the
celebración.
camera
Primero,
makes its
que es
way
con
to
Warren.
safety.
Pues ahí, vámonos con el
Yeah.
Prosecco. El
Prosecco will be opened. Spraying it down on his team members who watch on from pit lane. It's a team effort, of course, in motorcycle racing. The happy lad is Unai Orradre. But we'll get the photos from the top 3 in the race. And then we can turn our attention to the action still to come here this afternoon.
Alberto Fernández en la tercera posición.
So it was Unai Orradre, after 26 minutes of drama, 15 laps of action, who took the win from Eric Fernandez and Alberto Ferrandez. Milan Pavelit and Xavi Artigas rounded out our top 5. Xabi Zurutuza took P6, while Alberto Sura in 7th. Oscar Gutierrez rounded out P8, as Palomera took 9th. Meanwhile, our top 10 was rounded out by Gimbert, with Ludena, Jimenez and Marozio rounded out the top 13. Kersavan took 14th position with Roman Ramos, of course, racing on his Calyx in P15. Lorenzo Fallon just missing out on points, as did Christian Lawley. Rossi Mir in P18 with Ruiz, and Harrison Voigt rounding out our top 20. Owen Van Tricht, of course, we've seen that crash earlier on for the number 20. He was a non-scorer, as was Marcus Ruda, who didn't make it to the line for him. There's a few more retirements too, with Manjardo entering the pits, Kim retiring out on circuit, and Josh Watley running into issues on that first lap. Now, most importantly, the moment that pretty much everyone has been awaiting, the championship standings ahead of race 2. Unai Orradre leads by 23 points from Alberto Ferrandez. Alberto Sura, after fighting his way for the final spot towards the top 5, he drops down to 3rd in the standings. Milan Pavelit sits P4 in the championship, with Xabi Zurutuza rounding out our top 5 in the standings. So 23 points, a crucial margin now for Unai Orradre. Eric Fernandez, of course, that podium cements his place at the moment inside the top 10 in the standings. Marco Tapia takes the final spot inside the overall top 15. Oscar Gutierrez beginning to make his way up the championship order 2. Harrison Voigt as well, we mentioned. Not the race he'll be hoping for, no points scored here today so far. He sits P18 in the championship, but still a crucial race 2 coming up later on, and certainly one you do not want to miss. So set your alarm clocks and check the schedule on the JuniorGP website or the JuniorGP social media channels, or of course if you're out and about, join us on YouTube for all the action here today. But what a race it was. Unai Orradre, he sets up match point for later on this afternoon. Can he do it, or will the title roll on to Valencia? Let's find out this afternoon, where more Moto2 European action awaits.